I fear that we got so obsessed with longevity that we lost the key principles that our body knows to do to slow the aging process down.
Dr. Mindy Pelz,
fasting and hormone expert,
best-selling author of Age Like a Girl.
She shares a practical fasting plus hormone framework to help women lose weight
and train with their cycle instead of fighting it.
How does training like a girl biologically differ from training like a boy?
Boys' hormonal system work within 24 hours. They have one hormone to think about, that's testosterone. Okay, women, we have 3 sex hormones to think about: estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone.
But strength training isn't always great for women, right?
No. In fact, they aren't telling you is
Let's define fasting.
when blood sugar stays low for a significant period of time, your body will flip into this other metabolism and burn fat to make something called a ketone for energy. The length of my fast depends on the healing mechanism that I want to initiate in my body.
When we break the fast, what are we eating?
Make sure that first meal you have some kind of
How I can know what stage I am at in my cycle and when.
Day 1 through day 10, estrogen is building. From day 10 to day 15 of a woman's cycle, she gets the most amount of. We have lost our ability to understand our own natural rhythm.
What's the biggest thing people still get wrong about women's bodies?
Okay, so I'm going to tell you 2 things.
Hi guys, Kate here. Before we get into our conversation with Dr. Mindy Pelz, I want to ask you to please subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us continue growing the show and bringing you inspiring conversations. Let's get into our episode. Dr. Mindy Pelz, welcome to Post Run High.
Oh, thank you, Kate. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm so happy you're here. How are you feeling?
Well, okay, I'm going to be honest. I have a mixture of, gosh, I should have probably walked even more before I came here because I like the post run high, or the post walk high. But now I'm a little hot and sweaty.
Mm-hmm.
That.
Are you a Post Run High advocate?
Oh, huge. Yeah. In fact, do you know about the fan nap?
No.
This is the thing that we used to say all the time when we would go to the gym and work out really hard and it was summertime, is that you need to come home, lie on the bed with a fan on, and it was like your reward for the hard workout. So once I started to learn the power of the fan nap and how great it felt to just be like, oh, that was incredible. I started looking at the reward system after a run, a surf, anything. Whatever you do, the next thing is going to be the best thing you do.
Oh, I kind of love that.
Yeah.
So the podcast is going to be the best thing
Right,
ever.
exactly.
Well, Mindy and I just walked probably a little under a mile around West Hollywood in Los Angeles, but you are a bit of a runner yourself, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what does your fitness routine typically look like?
Oh my God, it's changed so much with menopause, and it changed so much with my work schedule because I just launched a book, and so you sort of lose your time to wherever the media wants you to go. But I would say before, like in my 30s and even my early 40s, I was like, put on the running shoes 3 to 4 days a week. I would go anywhere from 6 to 10 miles. Like that was my jam. I was living up in Northern California, and so great mountain runs. I loved that. And then to balance that, I would do yoga. So I would always try to do some kind of counterbalance so that I wasn't just go, go, go. Fast forward now, I'm 56, and I do it so different. So the big thing I started doing this year is I surf now. But then you have to look at surf not as just a leisurely thing. You have to think about it through the workout lens. So great for the upper arms, a lot of paddling. And then when you paddle back out after catching a wave, is like HIIT training. And so I try to paddle back out as fast as I can so I can get my heart rate up. And then usually, because I have a little more time after the book stuff, I will go hiking, and I'm a big rucker. I like to put the weighted vest on and go into the forest and go for a hike with my dog.
Mindy, I wish we went into the forest with weighted vests on and went for a hike this morning.
It would have been good.
Okay.
Would have been good.
We're saving that for next time.
Yeah, no. Have you done the weighted vest thing?
No.
Okay, well, so let's talk about the weighted vest
Okay,
thing,
tell me about it.
Because I think your audience might like it. So remember, it's just added weight on your core. So this is what I love. I don't like the ones that go on your back, but you have weights on your front and weights on your back so that the weight is evenly distributed. So, if you think about it, when you're walking or running, you tend to lean forward a little bit. With the Rucking vest, it forces you to lean back. So you're strengthening your ab muscles and your back muscles while you're running. So it's a really good way to just completely strengthen this whole torso. But for menopausal women, the science is showing that it helps prevent osteoporosis. So it doesn't have to be high impact. Walking, hiking with a Rucking vest on, it sends a signal to your bones and says, hey, be sure you hold on to calcium and phosphorus and be stronger because we have this extra weight.
And I feel like when it comes to menopause, you hear a lot about osteoporosis, and a lot of people would say, well, the best thing you can possibly do for women is strength train.
Right.
But strength training isn't always great for women, right?
No. In fact, it's really interesting because what they aren't telling you is that the most common injury for a menopausal woman is frozen shoulder.
Which is what?
It's where you are lifting, or like you can get it from tennis or something, but you're lifting such heavy weights that the muscle seize up and now you have limited range of motion. It's literally as it sounds. It's a frozen shoulder. But the mechanism behind that is because as you go through perimenopause and menopause, you lose estrogen, and we have estrogen receptor sites in every single joint in our body. So you start getting hip injuries, shoulder injuries. I was just talking to a friend the other day who got a tennis elbow injury from weightlifting. So we have to be careful to not, the science says lift really heavy weights at low reps for menopause, for muscle training. But then the science also says you're more prone to these injuries. So you're going to need to make sure you balance that out with a lot of stretching and a lot of rest.
And what does balance look like for menopausal women? Like if you're breaking it down kind of on a month-by-month basis, week by week, like how often are they strength training? How often are they doing cardio? And how often are they hiking with a weighted vest? You know?
This is such a great question because I call it exercise variation. That we really, just like what I taught fasting variation and food variation, like we need to go, okay, here's in my toolbox. This is what I have. I have Rucking, I have HIIT training, I have strength training, I have yoga. And you're going to want to even those out throughout your week. So 3 days of strength training is great. They say heaviest weight you possibly can for about 8 reps. So that doesn't have to be complicated. That doesn't have to be hours in the gym unless you want to do that. Yoga, you definitely need flexibility and balance. One of the biggest challenges for women as they age is if they lose their balance and then they'll break a hip. So a lot of yoga, or if you don't love yoga, do a lot of flexibility exercises. Then we got to think about cardio. And so you get to choose what cardio is going to be the most effective for you or that you like. But running can be good, but running can injure menopausal women too, because like this is how I stopped running, was because I kept getting hip and knee injuries. That's the loss of estrogen. So this is where I like the hiking with a Rucking vest on, because it'll get you that same cardiovascular challenge that running will, but it's much easier on your joints.
Now, what about walking with a vest on? Because, you know, you live in California, and the luxury of living in California and why I love being out here in the winter is you have easy access to nature and beautiful hikes and easy kind of nature trails to go on. But, you know, for our listeners that maybe don't have that access, I'm thinking of my mom who lives in Connecticut and New York. It's pretty flat where she is. Is walking just as effective with a vest?
With a vest on. So the thing is, you'll notice is your heart, you're going to be out of breath a lot easier. That's what you want. You want to push yourself cardiovascularly. So you can just walk briskly if you want. I think the first time you put a vest on, you have to understand that it's going to feel awkward. You might be a little sore in your back muscles, and you might be out of breath much quicker. So walking with them is great. Walking hills. So like here in the Palisades, when I was living there was this great hill, and I would put a 15-pound Rucking vest on, and I would go straight up this hill. And I had decided that gave me the best endorphin rush. It gave me the greatest workout that I had found for my menopausal body because I wasn't running anymore.
Yeah. You know, you wrote a book recently that just came out in December 2025 called Age Like a Girl. And guys, you're going to hear the term like a girl a lot in Mindy and I's conversation today, because you've really coined that term. You've made it your own, which I mean, I just love. I love that we're speaking to women because women's bodies are so different than men's bodies. And I've interviewed so many athletes, from Olympians to professional just athletes in their field. You know, I just interviewed this woman, Michelle Wee, who's a professional golfer. And she said that, you know, she had wished she knew how to work out like a girl when she was younger, because it would have prevented so many of the injuries she had to deal with. So when it comes to aging like a girl, you know, is working out and workout variation extremely important?
Yeah. I think I did a whole chapter on exercise in the book because, and I did it through the lens of an collegiate athlete. Like I went roaring into my 40s and I really had one goal, and that was to be in the best shape of my life. And I got there, but by 43, the thing that was getting me fit was now the thing that was injuring me. And so I didn't really quite understand the mechanism behind that. So here's the deal, is as estrogen goes down, so does collagen and creatine. So estrogen stimulated those two nutrients in your body. So you need to understand that that means more friction on your joints. So all the pounding is going to lead many times to more of the injuries. So, and you can add in collagen and creatine. That's phenomenal. Add it in. But just be aware that you're more prone to these joint injuries. So the box jumping, the CrossFit, oh my God, in my practice, I had all these crazy CrossFit women that were like in their 50s, totally injuring themselves doing CrossFit, but they're like, I'm in the best shape of my life, but I can't walk. I can't raise my arm. I kept saying like, why do you stop the CrossFit? And then nobody ever wanted to stop it. So there's an example of you need to shift what you're doing and be a lot more intentional about not putting so much pressure on your joints.
Yeah, and also sometimes exhaustion and pain that comes as a result of working out can be equated to being sore from getting a great workout in, but that's not always the case.
Right. Well, and soreness is interesting for menopausal women because low testosterone can give you soreness. And you're doing the same workout and you're like, wait, why? Like, I'm so sore. So there is this massive neurochemical shift that requires a massive lifestyle shift. So a couple interesting things that I really looked into when I put the book together. One was, we always talk about longevity and grip strength. Like the biggest indicator to how well you're going to age is grip strength. So I was like, well, then we should be doing after 40 exercises that help our grip strength. Right. So you could do those. You can do pull-ups. You can have just your hand on a bar and just do like, hang from a bar for a couple of minutes. But we really need our hands to be strong because you don't think about it. But when you're 80 and 90 and you fall on the ground or you're trying to get up out of a chair, you need functionality and your hand is a big one. So that would be the first thing I would say. The second thing is that we have to be really mindful to keep our hips lubricated. So when I went back and I looked at what the hunter and gatherers did, those postmenopausal women, they did a lot of squatting. And so they had to squat to forage for food. They were pulling tubers out of the soil. And so squatting, I looked into squatting and oh my God, the science on squatting is really impressive for helping with not only joint pain and prevention of injuries, but also with making sure that you have better posture as you age, that you don't have low back pain, keeps your core strong. So it's funny, I all of a sudden, in researching and writing the book, I found myself taking squatting breaks and trying to just get my hips to open up and how much better I felt just from that. So I think the focus, here's what I'm hoping people gather, is that when we're younger, the focus becomes so much about fitness being how do I look?
I was just going to say this.
Yeah. And then there's a point, and I'm really speaking as an ex-athlete that really had to come to like wrestle with the fact that I had to change my workout for functionality now. And it doesn't mean you can't look good, but you have this massive neurochemical change. And so you need to start thinking more from a lens of, I'm just going to go ahead and do my CrossFit class and injure myself because I like how I look. You want to sort of redefine the way you are looking at health and go, wait, I want to be able to walk at 80. I want to be able to get up off the ground at 80. I don't want to end up with a hip fracture at 80. I think that's what happens as you go through this experience.
I think one of the things that I'm really liking as it comes as like a buzzword in health right now, and we've gone through, I mean, I feel like in my 20s, it was like keto diet and gluten-free and celiac.
Yeah.
I mean, celiac is a different kind of thing, but people decided to be gluten-free that weren't celiac. You know, there's been so many different types of like health fads that people have gone through. The one word that I am really liking is longevity and
great.
longevity practices, because I agree. I think like a lot of times we can be short-minded with our fitness goals. Like I want to look great for my wedding in 6 months. You know, I want to look great for X, Y, and Z event that I have coming up. But I think it is so important as people that want to live a healthy lifestyle for a long duration of time. Like I know that I want to be able to run for as long as I possibly can.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean I can run every single day.
That's right.
That doesn't mean I can be a marathon runner, you know, but so how do you think we should, you know, I'm 28 years old. I think a lot of my listeners are in their, you know, 23 to 44 years old.
Right.
What can we be doing in our 20s to set ourselves up for our 30s and 40s?
Yeah. You know, I get asked this question so much, and I just love that this keeps coming up, because that's really the game of health, is to do something today that your tomorrow self will thank you for. Like think about working out. Now we like it; it feels good. You get the post high, you get all the endorphins. But you're also doing it today so that 2 days later or a day later, you look in the mirror and you like how you look. So I think we have to start to realize that what you're doing today is going to set you up for your health forever. So don't push through these injuries. I think that's the biggest one. Don't push through the injuries. Listen to your body and make sure that you're not using that sort of I can do anything attitude, and yet pretty soon you can't walk. You know, this is not necessarily through the lens of like a girl, but my husband was a semi-pro soccer player. Wow. And I kept saying, you gotta, in the 20s and 30s, I was like, you gotta do yoga, you gotta stretch, you're gonna get injured. And he was like, yeah. And he just went out and played soccer all the time. And then he just had a hip replacement last year. Like after a while, his joints wore out. So if I was in my 20s and 30s right now, I would be focused on exercise variation. I would be focused on weightlifting for sure. I think one of the things that we don't talk enough about, and we probably should, is it's so much harder to build muscle as you age. So build it and keep it is the name of the game at 20 and 30, because I can tell you, I used to look at weights in my 20s and I would build muscle, and I almost to the point that I felt too thick. And now I'm trying so hard to build muscle. It's a very different experience. So I think if you can go into your 40s with really good muscle strength, really good flexibility, a great exercise variation program, then you're going to find that you can weather those perimenopause years much easier.
How does training like a girl biologically differ from training like a boy?
Well, okay. So boys' hormonal system work within 24 hours, and they have one hormone to think about. That's testosterone. So testosterone will actually get released from the outer tissue of the testes. It goes up into the brain and converts to progesterone up there. So a man only has to play by the rules of one hormone. And testosterone likes heavy weights, hard activities, that kind of like aggressive sort of kill it mentality does well with testosterone. Okay, women, we have 3 sex hormones to think about: estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. Estrogen loves when you're doing a lot of aerobic activity, a lot of HIIT training. Estrogen wants you to keep cortisol down. Estrogen wants you to keep glucose down, but doesn't mind if cortisol goes up. So you're really intense HIIT training where, and I think all women should be doing this, where you're like out of breath, that starts to signal something called growth hormone. And growth hormone balances all the other hormones. So whenever you're making estrogen, which is day 1 through day 15, around then, really hard aerobic activity to keep glucose low. And then you can really get that fitness level up in the growth hormone. Then testosterone, this was something we didn't even talk about on the walk, but I've been really like this in all my research. I was like, why are fitness trainers not using the ovulation period to really make sure that women can build muscle the best during that time? Because from day 10 to day 15 of a woman's cycle, she gets the most amount of testosterone. The rest of her cycle, she's not getting testosterone. So why are we not teaching her to lift weights from day 10 to day 15 when she has all this testosterone? She's going to be able to build more muscle during that time. And then progesterone for a woman doesn't like cortisol high. So if you do the workout that estrogen loves, progesterone's like does not love that workout. So whenever progesterone comes in, we need to do more rest and recovery. So I did, do you know Tony Horton?
No.
Oh my God, you need to bring Tony Horton on
Okay,
here.
Tony Horton, you're coming on Post Run High. Come on.
Oh my God, you guys would be two peas in a pod. Okay, so Tony did something called P90X.
Okay.
Do you remember? Did you ever know this?
Yes. I've never done it, but I know it.
Okay, so Tony was like one of the first people to really make a home workout a hard one. And he had this thing called P90X, and you did these workouts every day for 90 days. And so when I was in my 30s, I did it for years. I just kept doing them over and over and over again. Well, a couple of years ago when Fast Like a Girl came out, I met him. And I was like, Tony, you really need to do a workout that maps to a woman's menstrual cycle. And so we did. And it's called Power Sync 60. It's out there in the world somehow, somewhere in Tony's land. But we really came up with how do you take 15, 20-minute workouts and customize them to the hormones that are coming in during that menstrual cycle. This is like something that I'm not interested necessarily in creating, but some fitness trainer out there, somebody should create that kind of program. I mean, Tony and I started it, and I just feel like more women need to start to look at look at fitness through the lens of your hormones.
And I think also if there was a trainer like Tony or whoever out there has like an online platform that can easily do it. I love home workouts. We're in California for these 3 months. I don't have a gym here that I'm working out at. So I'm going for runs outside and I'm doing the apps that I love doing. And I'm currently pregnant. And one of the apps that I love doing makes it so easy to know what workouts I can be doing based on the week of my pregnancy, which, by the way, for a pregnant woman is so helpful because there's so many things that you have to stay away from. And then there's certain things that you don't realize, but you actually can push yourself to do. So that's been super helpful. So I can only imagine if there was a cycle kind of tracking system just made so simple, stupid in an app, it would be great.
Right. I just keep thinking somebody's going to do it. You know what I mean? And I'm sure we could do it, but but the other thing you can do with AI now is go into a chat GPT and just say, what workout should I do according to my menstrual cycle? Because it is out there in the zeitgeist. We're hearing about it more and more. When I put together what I call the fasting cycle in Fast Like a Girl, which was here's what you should eat, here's the length fast you should do at different times of your cycle. I happened to be on a call with one of the trainers who had worked with Tom Brady. And he was also working with a lot of collegiate female athletes. And I asked him, so this was 4 years ago? I asked him, like, with your collegiate female athletes, do you do something different the week before her period? And he goes, oh, yeah. And I was like, really? What do you do? And he's like, well, you have to go into rest and recovery that week. I was like, okay, how does this male trainer know that? And so many women don't know that. So I think there is sort of the culture's hooking on to different exercises, different time of the cycle. It's just we haven't landed on what exactly that looks like.
But you know what's hard about that? When I think about a college setting, and I have brothers that played D1 lacrosse. I did cross country for like a hot sec. Maybe we shouldn't quote that on the show. Nobody look at my times. But you were a collegiate tennis player.
Yeah.
You know, when you're in a tennis program, you do what the other girls are doing.
That's
you do
right.
what the trainer is scheduling you to do. Every girl is on a different cycle.
Yes, right.
So like, say you're a college athlete listening to this podcast, like, and you know you're interested in matching your workouts to cycle syncing. What do you do in a situation? And you might know from experience where you're in college, you're working out with your team, you're doing what your coach says to do, but you know it's not right for your cycle that month, and it might actually limit your performance.
Right. And you don't want to be the one that's like, hey, I can't do it that.
Yeah.
You don't want to be the weak link because they pretty much own you when you're at that point. They'll just tell you what
And
to
athletes are too competitive to be
Yeah,
the weak link.
exactly.
We're not going to be the weak link out here. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Okay, so a couple of things. Just know that you don't want too many cortisol rich activities. So if you are working out hard, hard, you were studying hard, you were staying up late, you were partying hard, like that's a lot of cortisol, and eventually that's going to be hard on the body. So that would be the first thing. The second thing is I would talk to your coach, because your coach doesn't want you injured. So you might need to do a little, like instead of giving it 100%, you might have to give it 2/3, or like give it like an 80% sort of effort, so that you just are aware you're more prone to injury that week before. And then the third thing is something that I think every athlete should do, but I'm not sure that we do it all the time, which is prioritize sleep. So that you just aware that the week before your period, you need a little more rest and recovery. And so if you can't get that rest and recovery on whatever, like for me, it was the tennis court, you need to get to bed a little bit earlier, which also could be hard for a collegiate athlete, but something to consider.
Yeah, and I want you to talk to me like I'm a fifth grader, because sometimes when it comes to sciencey stuff like tracking my cycle, or like guys, like the amount of things I've had to learn about pregnancy has been like beyond. And thank God for things like ChatGPT and what to expect when you're expecting and all these things that you can learn. But talk to me like I'm a fifth grader and explain to me my cycle and how I can know what stage I am at in my cycle and when. And this is happening every single month, guys. So it happens like clockwork, right?
Yep. Okay, so first, day one, this is the one thing I learned with Fast Like a Girl. I was like, wow, so many women don't even know day one of their period. So day one is the day you actually need feminine care products. Like you're like, I'm actually on my period.
The crimson wave has come.
Yeah, crimson wave. There we go. You're not spotting. You're not like, oh, is my period here? No, you're like, my period is here. Okay, that's day one. Day 1 through day 10, estrogen is building. So it's like slowly, a little bit each day, until you get into ovulation, where estrogen will peak usually around day 12. But I always say day 1 to day 10, you want to play by rules of estrogen, which we've been talking about, which is keep glucose down. So this is great for the keto diet. This is great for fasting. This is great for hard workouts. And estrogen doesn't really care if cortisol goes high. So you can, stay up late, things like that. So that's the first 10 days. Day 11, you move into ovulation, and every woman ovulates different. And every month we ovulate at a different day. We ovulate out of each ovary differently. Like it's a moving target. This is why getting pregnant for many people is really hard. So day 11 to day 15, estrogen's going to peak. We already talked about estrogen is going to make ligaments really relaxed, but estrogen also brings in serotonin and dopamine and a lot of neurotransmitters that make you feel really good. So at like day 12, 13, estrogen peaks, you feel really good because you're getting all those neurochemicals. But you're also getting testosterone from day 10 to day 15. You're getting testosterone, so you're going to feel motivated. Might want to go work out more during that time because of your libido goes up. That's biologically intended to happen. So those are all really great. And you get a little bit of progesterone during that time. So you literally get all three hormones in this ovulation period. So I called it, in Fast Like a Girl, I called it the manifestation phase, because I was like, well, we're pretty magical during that time. We can do anything we want with all those hormones pumping in. And then after day 15, you start to go into the back half of your cycle. And from about day 15 to day 18, your body's pretty resilient. You can do whatever you want. Like you can lift hard, you can work out a lot, you can skimp on sleep. You're going to be fine. You can, whatever feels natural. But as we get to day 19 and 20, this is progesterone's moment. And I think this is the part of the menstrual cycle that women are not understanding and not doing right. When progesterone comes in, two things need to happen. Progesterone needs more glucose. So you want to get your carb load up, because the more glucose you have in the system, the more progesterone your body can make progesterone, which how many of us crave carbs the week before our period? That is by biological design, that your body needs more carbohydrates. So it makes you crave it, so the glucose goes up. The second thing, and this is where we as women in this modern world have really lost our way, is that progesterone does not like cortisol. the phrase that I use is when cortisol is high, progesterone is shy. She's out. So we talked about the female athlete, how she'll lose her period the week before, like she'll just stop getting a period. That's because she's working out so hard. There's so much cortisol that progesterone's like, no, it's not safe for me to make my appearance. With fasting, I found that so many women were losing their cycle, and then I stopped having them fast the week before their period, and all their cycles came back. And it was because cortisol was too high when they were fasting. Women that are dieting and they're like counting calories and like restricting during that time, they're not only keeping glucose low, but they're also having this effect where cortisol is high because they're in this real deprivation state. So that week, when women say to me, actually, it's when my period comes that I am the most uncomfortable, I used to say that's because you didn't mind the week before your cycle. Does that make sense?
It does, because like the week before my cycle, even whether it's 4 days or 3 days, I know myself, and it's like you really have to listen. As a woman, like we are so intuitive.
Yeah.
We have gut feelings. Like we know what's going on in our body and we know what we need. And I think it's when we shy away from those things that are so clear that we need. Like for example, 3 to 4 days before I get my period, every single time I am ravenous.
Yeah.
I'm eating every single thing
But
in the
that's
fridge.
by design.
Yeah, it's by design. And like I've had to give into that. And by the way, I'm not gaining weight those days.
Right. That's
actually the
point.
total opposite.
Yeah. So on that, you bring up such a good point, because I used to, when I first started teaching fasting to my practice, I had a lot of high achieving women that were, cardio bunnies. They just would work out so hard. And then I taught them how to fast, and now they were working out hard and they were fasting hard. And they would come in the week before their period and they would be like, I'm really struggling to fast this week. I don't know what's going on. And that's when I saw this pattern that, oh my God, all those times we were like, I'm craving chocolate. I just want to eat a box of pizza. That actually was our body saying, please give me more glucose so that I can make this hormone so that your uterine lining can shed. So, but as women, what do? We're like, oh my God, I can't stick to my workout this week. I don't know why I can't stick to my diet. And we think somehow it's our fault. And what I'm really trying to get across is it's not our fault. It's that you have a rhythm to follow. And when you follow it, the ravenous won't be there. And the women that were doing so much fasting and so much working out and not honoring that week before, they were gaining weight. Because the body was like, we don't know when this cortisol is going to stop, and we don't know when the next meal is coming. So we're going to hold on to all this fat. So I did this really interesting thing where I took these women and I said, okay, I just want you to eat and I gave them healthy carbs, and I don't want you to work out, and I don't want you to fast the week before your period. Every single one of them lost weight. So the point you made, I think that I really want people to understand is that we have a tendency to think weight gain is because we weren't disciplined with our food and our exercise. But it's more complicated than that. Weight gain can happen because you didn't understand the hormonal rhythm of your body. And so it became stressful for your body, so it just held on to weight.
Yeah. It seems like the female body, from what you're saying, it seems like the female body gives us this natural built-in roadmap to follow to look and feel our best.
Yeah. But what do? We push through that. Like
because of societal norms. Yeah.
We push through it, and because we want to look good, we want to be thin, we want to participate in everything. We don't necessarily want to be left out of anything. We want to do everything like a man. Maybe we're in a partnership where we're like, oh, my husband's going hiking, I want to go hiking. My husband's eating that, but I don't, I'm over here dieting. Like we have lost our ability to understand our own natural rhythms. And what I'm probably one of the things I'm the most proud of with Fast Like a Girl is it really started a conversation where women were like, okay, what else am I supposed to be doing with my menstrual cycle? How should I be eating? What supplements should I be taking? What should my sleep patterns be? How should I work out? That's how we need to think. It's not, a man can get away with a 7-day weekly schedule. We need a monthly schedule.
Let's define fasting.
Okay.
What is fasting?
So the best way I can explain it is through the lens of what I call the metabolic switch. So you have two metabolisms. You have one that is coordinated by food. Every time you eat, your blood sugar goes up. We call that the sugar burner metabolism. Then you have another metabolism. It's called the fat burner metabolism. And it's when blood sugar stays low for a significant period of time, your body will flip into this other metabolism and burn fat to make something called a ketone for energy. So with fasting, one of the things I really wanted to bring out there to people is everybody would say to me when they come into my office, like, I think my metabolism's slow. I think my metabolism slowed down. And I'm like, no, you just didn't know about this fat burning metabolism that when you go 8 to 12 hours without food, your body metabolically shifts over into a whole nother energy source. And that energy source burns fat to make ketones. That energy source is fasting to me. It is when you've learned to go an extended period of time without raising blood sugar, which we can talk about in a moment, and you're switching yourself over into this place where you haven't eaten and the body will burn fat to be able to give you a new energy source.
So when it comes to fasting, like I feel like when I think of fasting, I think and I know we talked about this a little differently, which I loved your point that you made on the run. And I don't know whether it makes it into the video or not, but you said, one of the simplest things I tell women is you eat during the daylight and you stop eating when it's no longer daylight. So and when I previously have heard about fasting, it's kind of like you're eating in like a 7 to 8 hour window. And I don't know if those hours are right. I just know it's like kind of an hourly window. My mom actually swears by it. And, she's she's a postmenopausal woman.
I bet.
And she loves it when it comes to feeling her best and looking her best.
I love that.
So like, how do you structure it for people?
Yeah. So, in Fast Like a Girl, I mapped out 6 different length fasts. Mm-hmm. And that was based off of just a ton of research and what I saw with my patients. So the way I look at fasting is I look at it like the length of my fast depends on the healing mechanism that I want to initiate in my body. So if I go 12 to 15 hours without food, I know I'm stimulating this growth hormone. And I know that growth hormone helps me burn fat and helps me make other hormones. So if I'm hormonally feeling off, I'm going to be like, okay, I need 12 hours, 13, somewhere between 12 and 15 on a fairly regular basis so I can get enough growth hormone. 17 hours of fasting is when we start to see that the body actually detoxes itself. It's something called autophagy. So if you've overdone it on vacation or a holiday, or you're just feeling like you need to detox, start to throw in some of these 17-hour fasts, and your body will detox itself for free. I mean, detox has gotten really expensive. Like, you can get your body to do it itself. 24 hours is what we call the gut reset fast, and it's where your intelligent body starts to make intestinal stem cells. So I use that fast with my patients who had any kind of gut problems, bloating, constipation, diarrhea, candida, which is like a yeast infection in the body. I would throw in once a week these 24-hour fasts to try to help them help their body heal their own gut. 36 hours was always my stubborn weight loss people. Once a quarter, I'd throw a 36-hour fast at them and you'd watch them drop weight. 48-hour fast resets your whole dopamine system. People who were depressed, anxiety, once a quarter, we'd do a 48-hour fast. And then 72 is where you reboot your whole immune system. Once a year, twice a year is great. Mm-hmm. So that's the best way I can answer that question is it's personal. Mm-hmm. So your mom might be losing weight and thriving in her postmenopausal years at 15 hours, whereas another woman in her postmenopausal years may have really gained a lot of weight through menopause and needs to go for a 36-hour fast. Mm-hmm. So I really wanted people to use these like you would use a supplement or you would use a workout. What are you trying to do with your body? That determines the length of the fast.
And everybody's body's different.
Everybody's different.
I feel like based on your goals, if it's, getting rid of stubborn fat,
Yeah.
it's going to look different for everybody.
Yeah.
I think my mom's sweet spot is 16-hour fast. I'm horrible with numbers. I'm good at remembering random specific numbers and dates, and 16 I know is her number. So when we break the fast, I feel like this is where people go wrong.
Yep.
When we break the fast, what are we eating?
Yeah. So in Fast Like a Girl, I did a whole chapter on breaking the fast.
Okay.
And then Eat Like a Girl was a cookbook to go with it. We have recipes on breaking the fast. So the first principle to know is that first meal matters. Because you just did this whole reset to your system. Even if you went 15 hours, you went a significant period of time where the body had to adapt to the lack of food. It's waiting for those nutrients. It can't wait for them to get into your system. So make sure that first meal you have some kind of fiber, so a salad or vegetables of some kind, because that feeds your microbes and helps to build a healthy gut. You definitely want 30 grams of protein, because protein is what builds muscle. So let's get at least 30 grams or more of protein. You want some kind of healthy fat like olive oil, because if you don't put a fat in there, it could be what I call a boomerang, where you start to like open up your eating window and you're just like, I'm just going to eat because this feels so good to just eat. So if you put some fat in there, it slows down it kills hunger and slows down the absorption of blood sugar. And then you can add in your carbs. So you'll notice that I put carbs at the end, and that's where one of the places people go wrong is they're like, I just fasted 15 hours. I'm just going to have my favorite meal. My favorite meal is a bowl of pasta. And then I have a bowl of pasta and I'm sleepy and I don't have any energy for the rest of the day. So I really like looking at that first meal and going, what am I feeding my body to support the fast I just did?
I also want people listening to not be afraid of carbs, because I feel like, and I think this is a coming of age thing. And I know people struggle with this for decades and generations, but I do feel like it's for a lot of people, it happens in your younger 20s, not to stereotype it, but college and social pressures come with sometimes eating disorders.
Yeah.
And I feel like an eating disorder that may be sometimes overlooked is like women are afraid of carbs.
Yep.
At a young age, they really feel like carbs are like the enemy,
Yeah,
And I remember there was a time in my 20s where I would never eat carbs, like no rice, no quinoa. I would hardly have sandwiches. I was like salad, heavy on protein, getting a lot of calories in, because of course I've been a runner my whole life. I've always had to fuel my body in order to perform at the level that I perform at, specifically to do this show, guys. We are eating.
Yeah.
But I was afraid of carbs.
Well, let's talk about carbs, because when I first started teaching the ketogenic diet to my patients in the online world, so many women got incredible weight loss results. And they were so excited because they weren't hungry and they could drop weight. So they kept carbs out. And all of a sudden you started, after year of that, you started to see problems with that. So I absolutely agree with you that we can't get so adverse to carbs that we're doing more damage to our body, because your body needs carbs. Like one of the things that helps you make serotonin are carbohydrates. So make sure you have enough carbohydrates so your microbiome can make serotonin, which keeps you happy. But the problem is it's like fat. There's good carbs and there's bad carbs. So if you've been in this carb restricted diet, you may revisit the idea that what you want to restrict are the desserts, the cakes, the cookies, the sweets, the ultra processed foods. Those are the carbs you want to get rid of. And the carbs you want to bring in are fruit. Fruit's incredible. Berries are incredible. Bananas incredible with all that potassium in there. You want to bring in potatoes. In Age Like a Girl, I have a whole thing on the miracle of sweet potatoes and tubers. You want to bring in even some rice is great. Brown rice, white rice, believe it or not, paired with the right food can be really good. So it's just the highly processed carbs we want to stay off of.
What is is rice a highly processed carb?
Well, white rice can be highly processed, but bread is kind of the biggie. But sourdough. So this is where
sourdough is good, right? I was gonna say, but Taylor Swift is bringing back sourdough in a really big way.
Yeah, sourdough is great because it's fermented. So let's break down. Processed means that they have taken many steps from that original food and have manipulated it and turned it into a new food. Potato chips are a great example of that. A potato is super healthy for you. A potato chip, they sliced it, they sprayed it with chemicals, they put bad oils on it. Now that's a processed food, meaning they processed it into something else. So
It makes sense.
and use like the best way to know is when you walk into your grocery store, everything pretty much in the middle aisles that can stay on shelves for a long time, those are processed foods. But if you stay around the outside of the grocery store, you're going to get the fresh foods.
Do you mainly cook for yourself?
Me personally, or as our family?
Like as your family?
Well, okay, so interesting you say that. We are a family of foodies.
Okay.
And my son, who's 23, is actually a professional chef. So lately, when he shows up, we're like, what are you making? My husband's also incredible at cooking. So same thing with our daughter. So she's 26. She's out of the house now. But every time the family's together, we're cooking.
Who's a better cook, you or your husband?
Well, we kind of conquer and divide.
Okay.
Here's my superpower. I make the best salad on the planet.
Okay.
I like best salad dressing. That is my jam. Everything. And then he'll cook a steak, and we probably many nights it's a meat and a salad. That's kind of our evening meal. And
I love when a guy can cook.
oh,
Jeremy, you heard that? I love when a guy can.
oh yeah. I mean, my son will talk with me for hours about what he's learning in the kitchen, and I'm like, yeah, what a catch you are.
I
like,
literally was gonna say
yeah.
that. I'm like, whatever a lucky lady. Like
Yep.
it's so nice when a guy can cook. It
It's
really
so
is.
nice and clean the kitchen.
Oh yes, clean's good too. We
Yeah.
conquer and divide in that way. I feel like I'm the one that cooks, and then Jeremy is very good at
Yeah.
cleaning. Yeah.
But what I was going to go back to when you asked, do I cook? Yes, I do. I love to cook. But we mostly cook because we know we can make the best meals in our house. We can get the local food. We can get grass-fed steaks. And if I go out to a restaurant, now I've got to be searching for those buzzwords. So we eat at home a lot because we want the best quality food.
Yeah, I feel like the benefit of cooking at home, especially when you're health focused and want to put the best things in your body,
Yep.
is you know what is going into every single dish that you're
That's
making.
right. That's
You
right.
know when you're cheating a little bit,
Yeah.
which is we can all cheat.
Yeah.
It's so funny. I interviewed Brian Johnson, who's
fun.
who's a longevity expert, and he doesn't have a single cheat meal.
Well, because he's trying to reverse aging.
Yes.
Oh my God. Okay. Well, I wouldn't recommend that. Did you ever read that book called Body for Life?
Not by Mark Hyman, right? No.
But anyways, okay. So this guy, he was a fitness trainer, and this is back in like 2000s. And he said he's going to give $1 million to the person who can lose the most weight in 90 days. And he created a program. And the program basically had you working out in a fasted state, because he was like, if you're in a fasted state, I still agree with this, that if you want to lose weight, once you go to work out, your body will get the message that it needs more glucose to be able to perform that workout. So it will start burning fat much quicker because it needs glucose, and it stored glucose in fat. If I have a protein drink and then I go work out, I'm now in a place where I'm given my body glucose, so it just uses that. It doesn't burn fat. So you want to almost go into a deprivation state and work out. So he had that. Then the second thing that he had is 1 day a week you could eat whatever you wanted. But on the other days, he had pretty much a ketogenic diet. And the amount of weight that people lost, it was insane based off of those two principles: work out fasted and release your discipline 1 day a week. But the rest of the time you go back into discipline. And his theory was that when you could just off gas and if it's Friday and your cheat day is Sunday, you're like, I'm just going to get to Sunday and then I can eat whatever I want. So I think Brian Johnson is doing stuff that's really intriguing to see what the limits of the human body are and what we can do to reverse aging. But I don't think most people are going to be able to stay that disciplined for decade after decade. And some days you just need a cheat day.
And not only that, but most people can't afford it.
Right.
I went into his house and I saw the tech setup of stuff that he has. And I mean, I know most people can't go into his house and see kind of the setup. If you want, you can go watch my Running interview show video with him where we did a very dark tour of the space because the lights go off when the sun sets in his house and it's all red light.
Wow.
But you could also look at Paris Hilton's longevity center. I think she's done videos on it or in her house. I'm pretty sure I've seen that. Don't quote me on it. But they're both very into longevity. But it's expensive. I mean, to get a red light panel that your entire body can stand in, like that's just, it's not realistic.
You know, I think I'm so happy you bring this up because I was super involved in the biohacking movement for a long time. And I would go to these conferences and I would speak, and then you go out into the vendor hall and I'd be speaking on fasting and about how the body heals itself. And then people get all excited about that. And then all of a sudden they go out into the vendor hall and see a piece of equipment that could help them, you know, with longevity that's $10,000. And I'm like, but a 72-hour fast gets rid of those cells that are aging you. If you understand the principle of autophagy and how you can tap into that through exercise and through sleep and through fasting, you don't need to buy an autophagy pill. I fear that we got so obsessed with longevity that we lost the key principles that our body knows to do to slow the aging process down.
I also think we live in an era of immediate gratification and easy fixes. And like that kind of leads me to obviously different machines, right? Like the hyperbolic chamber, whatever. Hyperbaric oxygen chamber. Jeremy sat in Brian Johnson's. I am so claustrophobic. I could not go in there.
Yeah.
But I also think about Ozempic.
Yeah.
And so Ozempic's an easy fix. And when you think about fasting, and maybe even like fasting workouts, like that really is what Ozempic is doing, right? It's making people fast.
Yeah. It's so funny you say this because when Ozempic first came out, I mean, Fast Like a Girl was in her trajectory. Like we sold over 1.3 million copies of that book. Like it just went crazy. And then I was watching all these people go, oh, like, the amount of weight I've seen people drop using fasting, it's insane. Hundreds and hundreds of pounds, like big amount of weight. And so then Ozempic came around and I kept asking everybody, what do you notice? And they're like, I'm not hungry. And I was like, okay, but when you fast and you start to fast regularly, it's what I call building a fasting lifestyle. You're not hungry when you fast. I forget to eat all the time because I'm not hungry. So we wanted the immediate gratification. Give me the pill as opposed to train my body to be able to learn how to fast and kill hunger. We'd rather take an injection. It's to me a little bit like the marathon. Like there's so many things you learn running a marathon about yourself and training for it. But if somebody came and gave you a pill that said you can get all those things and not have to go through the pain of running a marathon, there's so many lessons we would miss out on, right?
I mean, absolutely.
So
a marathon is less about what it's doing for your body physically, because by the way, it's not doing a lot of great things for your body physically. And it's more about what you get out of it from a mental toughness standpoint and from like a discipline standpoint. Because the marathon, the race is half the battle. It's the training that really counts.
It's what you learn. It's what you learn about in the process of training and running for the marathon that gives you that long-term health and is so important for longevity. And we have traded that in for the quick fix. With Ozempic, the thing that drives me crazy about it, and there's a lot of upside. So if you're on it, I understand it, but you want to pair a fasting lifestyle with it so you can get off of it. But what I've seen in my community is that if a woman loses weight with the fasting lifestyle, she walks around like she's a badass. She's like, oh, I learned how to all these different level fasts. I learned how to eat for my cycle. I feel so proud of myself. And there's like this confidence that comes with it. When a woman loses weight because she gave herself an injection every day, she doesn't get the same confidence. Doesn't mean she's not happy, but it doesn't give her the same pride in her body as it would have if she had done the hard work to lose weight.
It almost feels fake.
Feels fake. And if you have you ever gone up to somebody who's lost weight with Ozempic and you're like, hey, you look great. And they're like, thank you. And they don't say anything because they're embarrassed. They don't want to tell you that they like took the shortcut way. Not everybody's like that, but I've just seen it too much.
I think the thing with Ozempic is like it can be an incredible drug paired with the right lifestyle changes.
That's it.
And it's not a drug you want to be on forever. And I feel like I've seen you talk about this before, but there's a stat with Ozempic where after 2 years, people are off of it, right?
I just did a video on this week for my YouTube. It was a meta-analysis 2025 just came out that said the average when people get off Ozempic it was Ozempic and Wegovy, those two specifically, that when they got off, it took anywhere from a year to 2 years, and they were right back where they started. And in many cases, they actually gained more weight back. So I think we have to realize it's not fixing your metabolic system. You did not fix anything. You used a patch that gave you a result, and it gave you a little bit of momentum, which is amazing. But now let's put in the lifestyle so you can get off of it.
Yeah.
And you can actually, but the lifestyle will fix the metabolic problem. Then you get off of it, and then you won't boomerang. You won't have that extra weight gain.
Because that's the worst thing. It's like when you spend all that money, which Ozempic, these medications cost a lot of money. Oftentimes, unless you have PCOS or, are obese, or I'm sure there's other health implications. Those are just the most common ones I hear about. Like insurance is not covering your Ozempic shot.
That's right. Yeah.
And it's a fortune. So like, why spend a fortune and not make those lifestyle changes so that when you decide to go off this medication, you get to hold on to those results and feel so proud of like, I did this for myself. I'm so happy that it worked. I look amazing. I feel the best I ever had.
And I think you bring up such an important point, which is the fasting lifestyle. Like I map it out for women in Fast Like a Girl. This is what it looks like. Vary your fast, vary your foods, know what your cycle is, and know what you want your fasting length to be. And you get to play with that as you are going along your monthly cycle. You will drop weight. I've watched so many people drop weight. And it will kill your hunger. When you switch over into this fat burning state and you make a ketone, ketones go up into the brain and they turn off the hunger hormone. And when you fast, the other interesting thing about fasting is it repairs your microbiome. And do you know that it's these microbes in our gut that make the GLP-1 hormone? So you can actually repair your gut, make your own GLP-1 hormone through the effort of building a fasting lifestyle.
What supplements do you swear by?
Well, magnesium's got to be my favorite because I'm postmenopausal. So let me. Okay, I'll tell. Here's my supplement plan right now. I have definitely moved away from the pills and moved over to IVs. So I get a regular IV once a month. It's packed with magnesium and zinc because those are the two nutrients you need the most for hormones. Every 90 days, I monitor my vitamin D levels. And if they're low, I'll get a vitamin D shot weekly to start to bring them up. So I always want to make sure I have a good baseline of just my typical nutrients that you need. Then I like things like methylene blue. Did Brian talk to you about methylene blue? So methylene blue is this really cool nutrient that goes in and it fires up the mitochondria and it starts to make the mitochondria make more ATP. ATP is the unit of energy that you get when you to energy to move and to do what you want to do in a day. When you take methylene blue, it supercharges these mitochondria and your brain feels brighter, your mind feels good. Like it's just a beautiful little tool for powering up mitochondria in your whole body, but we have so many in our brain. So I'll go get a methylene drip like once a month as well. Then my new thing, and I don't know if you brought anybody on to talk about this, that I love and is the most exciting thing we should all be excited, like focusing on this, is peptides. Have you experienced, did Brian talk about peptides? There is nothing that I have seen work as well as peptides. And peptides are an amino acid sequence that initiates a biological process. So collagen, there is a peptide called GHK-Cu. They all have weird names. And when you take this peptide, they're done in injections, you are actually getting your body to make its own collagen. So it's like a catalyst to get your body to do the thing. Cerebral lysin, amazing peptide for menopausal women, because when you put that amino acid sequence into your body, it initiates your brain to make BDNF. And BDNF is a brain fertilizer, like for the brain. It gives you more neuronal power. You can use more of your brain when you've got BDNF. And this peptide initiates that. Probably the most common peptide is BPC 157, and it helps recovery. So for athletes, when you do BPC 157, people are seeing that injuries and even hard workouts, they're recovering from them much quicker. So most of them are injectables. You have to figure out where to go get them.
I was going to ask,
Yeah.
where am I getting these? You know what I mean? I feel like that's the hardest thing. So where do you get them from?
Yeah, well, up by me in Santa Cruz, I have a clinic, a IV clinic that I can get them there. That same IV clinic is in Malibu. It's called they're a franchise. It's called Be Well. You can go check them out. A lot of alternative doctors, naturopaths, chiropractors, integrative functional health specialists are doing peptides. Next Health, which is right around the corner. Have you been to Next Health?
No.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
I get nervous doing anything right now with pregnancy.
Oh, yeah.
Like
you
I
shouldn't,
can't,
you
right?
shouldn't, yeah.
But after, I'm definitely gonna.
Yeah.
And I did see. I saw somebody post on their story yesterday that they had recently had like a cosmetic surgery thing done, and they're bruising like crazy. And she posted she had a doctor come over and was giving her all these like different treatments to help with the swelling and all that. And I was like, who is this? Anyways, I looked into it and I was like, okay, she's doing like the vitamin D shots and stuff like that.
Yeah, injectables like
yeah.
insulin needles have become quite popular. And and everybody's, I mean, like I even in my hotel room right now, I brought some peptides and they're sitting because they have to be refrigerated. And I put them into the mini fridge and I thought, oh, if they come clean the room, I wonder if they're going to be like, what is this woman shooting up in here? So the injectability of it is a little daunting, but honestly, if you ask me where supplements are going, we are moving towards peptides. Peptides, once I started to understand peptides, once I started to know, okay, here are the main things I need for hormones, I could really dial in what was going to actually make me feel better. Too many people take supplements because they saw something on Instagram that thought they should do it, or a friend told them to do it, but they don't really they're not getting the result of it.
It's good for people to know. And I feel like, oftentimes people can feel like this information is like secretive and only certain people know about it. So I just love hearing you talk about it and what is working and what people are doing that like is the future of, being in your best health. I have two topics I want to go into. Okay. Which one would you rather go into first? And you can tell me if you don't know enough about like the pregnancy stuff to talk about it.
Like, I got it. I have a topic choice. Thank you. Nobody's ever going to
give me two topics. I'm like, pick your card, any card. So we can either talk about runners specifically, because I feel like there's a lot of things that like runners get wrong and are maybe doing wrong when it comes to working out. Because runners, guys, we love to run. Okay.
Yeah.
Or could we talk about pregnancy and maybe working out and eating while pregnant?
I mean, they're both great topics. Can we do them both?
Yeah.
Okay, let's start with running.
Okay.
I think what runners get wrong is that they don't cross train enough. That's the first thing. The second thing is positioning running. What was that guy? I forget his name, but he wrote a book called Born to Run. And it was about how we need to actually position our body so that it's easier on our joints. Like you're not supposed to be completely upright. You're actually supposed to be just angled, your torso angled about 10 degrees forward, because it will, especially for women, will start to put more weight over your hips and over your entire leg so that you don't have uneven weight distribution. I think that's really interesting. Then, of course, we have to look at the distance of running. And I think the biggest thing with runners is that you're going to have to vary the sprinting with the endurance so that you're building both the short, short twitch, the fast twitched muscle fibers and the slower twitched muscle fibers. So varying the type of running you're doing will have a really big impact. I think what happens is, and I fell prey to this a lot, where running became my drug of choice. Like literally anything went wrong, I put my running shoes on, out I went. And I never varied the length. I never varied the speed. I just went at the same pace, and that's how I got injured. So if you have that same sort of addiction to running, just make sure you're varying the length and the speed. Something really interesting that we don't think about, and this is getting really technical, so stop me if it gets confusing. Your muscles have an opposing muscle that works with it in like a team. So the quads and the hamstrings work together. If you are always engaging the quads, but not engaging the hamstring, you're going to end up with muscles that are out of balance. So when we're running, a lot of times we overstretch our hamstrings and we strengthen our quads, especially if you're like a toe runner.
Yeah.
So, and that imbalance now has you more prone to injury. So one of the greatest things runners can do are like hamstring exercises to keep strengthening that hamstring so that you don't overdevelop the quads. But the biggest challenge with running, especially for women, especially as we age, is the injuries. So you have to be really intentional. You need to vary it. You need to balance the muscles and then work on your posture so that if you're not completely upright, you're just a little bit like 5 to 10 degrees so that the weight goes evenly over your lower half of your body.
Yeah. And I feel like when it comes to running, especially as we get older, and I've seen this with my mother-in-law who's a marathoner, and she fell at the New York City Marathon and she broke her wrist. And she had to learn that she's running too much without keeping her diet the way it needs to be kept up, at 66 years old. And she wasn't getting enough. Oh God, I'm so bad. What does milk have? She isn't getting
calcium.
enough. She's not getting
It's
enough
mommy
calcium.
brain.
Yes, mom brain. Oh God, guys, pregnancy brain is real. Except I'm doing well this interview though.
It's a real thing.
Oh, it's such a real thing. God.
Yeah, you put a pregnancy brain with a postmenopausal brain, and like it's amazing we're doing this.
Really? Do they kind of?
Yeah. There's definitely the hormones. This was the whole function of Age Like a Girl. The whole purpose was for me to show that the brain is rewiring itself for the better. But in that process, you're losing old neurons and getting new ones. Mommy brain's the same thing. You lose those neurons that told you where your keys were and what your task list was.
I'm like, what does milk have? God, no, but it's so real. I love, by the way, that you said that menopause is all about reframing, and it can become like a superpower if we just understand how it works. And it is so true. It's like, I've felt this throughout my whole life too. It's like, there's different stages of your life and like, you just have to give into those stages. And it's like, when it comes to working out or eating, like just because it worked for you 5 years ago at 20 years old, 25 years old, 30 doesn't mean it's going to work for you at 35, 40, That's right. So we have to constantly evolve the way our bodies are evolving. But yeah, runners, man, you got to get the right nutrients in.
Got to get the nutrients in. You got to vary it. You got to stretch. You've got to, everything. The little things we talked about are like, will make it injury proof.
And don't overtrain. I used to run 6 miles a day and I definitely got injured doing that.
So I came up with a couple of things in my 40s, like phrases to help my competitive brain know that it's okay to not just full on run. The first one is something I called sprunning. I actually had a friend, I'm like, can we go sprinting today? Which basically meant we're going to run shorter, but we're going to do sprints in the run. So we did a 20-minute run with 90-second sprints and 30 seconds off. That was what the research was. Then when I got into menopause and I injured myself, I mean, I'm only sharing this from my own experience. One day I was like, I feel like if I run today, my hips are going to feel so bad after this. And so I was really like thinking about, okay, but I need to still move. And I came up with a phrase like, would I be okay if I just did a forward movement workout? Just move your body forward. because when you move your body forward, you bring cortisol down. And when you bring cortisol down, like we've been talking, all the other hormones will balance. But my competitive brain wasn't looking at walking or even brisk walking as a workout. And so I was like, but it's just forward movement at a different pace.
I was going to say forward is a pace.
Yeah, there we go. Forward is a pace. So again, if you start to look at everything we're talking about as women, so many times, if we don't understand our bodies, we know how to do hard really well. We can push on through, but that's not always in our best interest, which is hard for us to understand.
So we have talked about so much, but as it relates to women, we've talked about menopause. We've talked about working out and syncing it with your cycle. We've talked about fasting and making sure you're eating right as it relates to your hormones and what's going on in your cycles. But we haven't talked about pregnancy, guys. The sweet, sweet 9 months of being pregnant. So just quickly, let's kind of touch on it. I think there's a big movement now for women, as a pregnant woman, that a lot of people want to stay as fit as they can while pregnant. And that looks different. That doesn't mean you're trying to lose weight. You're in fact definitely gaining weight.
That's right.
There's no avoiding that when you're pregnant. But, there's this new kind of mentality of like, we're no longer eating for two, which used to be what doctors would tell everybody. So like, what should pregnant women be doing as it relates to what they're eating and how they're moving their body, maybe on a month-to-month basis?
Well, so the first thing is protein. Hopefully somebody gave you the protein conversation. We definitely need to increase protein. So this, again, ties into everything we've been talking about. Protein breaks down into amino acids. Amino acids sequence themselves to create biological processes like we were talking about with peptides. So please, 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 tons of protein. That would be the first thing. The second thing, and this is something that doesn't get enough airtime and really needs to, which is you are going to pass your microbiome on to your child. So eating things like sauerkraut, probiotic-rich yogurts, sourdough, fermented foods is probably the best thing you can do when you're pregnant, because now you're actually bringing in a lot of different types of healthy bacteria. And those bacteria are actually going to come through your breast milk and even through your skin when your baby's born. So we used to always teach in my clinic to new parents to hold your baby's skin to skin contact, because we have microbes on our skin, and your baby, the first 3 years of your baby's life, the digestive system is still forming. So this whole microbial system can be really helped by the fermented foods. Skin contact is great. And making sure you're not lathering your baby or you in a bunch of antibacterial stuff.
Yeah. And I do feel like being pregnant, I've been pregnant now for a little under 5 months, but just about at that 5 months cusp. Hi, JP. Okay, this is my first child. John Pierre, my cat John Pierre now has entered the set, but we're going to stay away from Mindy.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I'll look at you from afar and tell you how beautiful you are with those gorgeous eyes.
I do feel like I have never been so health conscious in my life, like when it comes to eating. Yeah. And because I feel like this newfound, like, it's so important to be fueling my body the right way and eating healthy foods, because everything that I eat goes right to the baby.
That's right. So the other thing we used to say in my clinic all the time is pregnancy is the ultimate detox. So something for women that are thinking about getting pregnant is whatever toxic load you have in your body is going to actually go into your child. And so, and your baby is growing within your body, and if it has a high toxic load, then you're going to end up with that being passed on. So before you get pregnant, looking at everything from like your makeups to your lotions to the plastics to heavy metals, like everything you can do to minimize your toxic environment is really helpful. But even while you are pregnant, like making sure that you're not exposing yourself to a lot of endocrine disruptors, that you're not exposing yourself to a lot of plastics, will make a really big difference for your child.
Yeah. I mean, they even say, like, I remember when I went to my first appointment with my gynecologist, she was like, "Are you wearing sunscreen?" And it's like, I never would have thought that sunscreen was so important with pregnancy, but it actually is.
Yeah, interesting.
So I have to look into why.
Just make sure it's natural sunscreen.
Exactly. Make
Don't
sure
put
it's
the toxic stuff
Oh
on.
yeah. Make sure it's a good sunscreen. For our male listeners, listening to you today, what do you want them to take away from our conversation that they can apply to their female partners?
Yeah. It's so good because so many couples, heterosexual couples, end up trying to work out the same, eat the same, and we want to avoid that. So the first thing men need to know is that your partner needs to train at a different pace at different times of the month than you. So be sensitive to that. This is not a moment where you're like, come on, push on through. You want to know where she is in her cycle so you know when to support her to push on through and when to tell her, hey, you can, chill out today. It's your week before your period. So I think knowing a woman's menstrual cycle is really important for men and what comes with the ebbs and flows of that. Second thing that I saw so much in my practice was that women go on a diet, women go to do something nutritionally, and they don't get as quick of a result as men do. And so then they get frustrated. So I think the more we can understand that the male and female body respond differently to lifestyle, it can really help take the shame away from women. I sat with, when I first started teaching fasting, I sat with so many couples where the wife was so defeated because she did a fast and only lost 1 pound and her husband lost 20 and she thought it was her fault. So knowing that we're different and we need different tools is really important.
Yeah, and I even liked the examples that you had brought in of coaches, male coaches coaching females. It's important for men to understand the female body, especially when you're interacting with women, whether it be your sister, your mom, the girls that you're coaching, or your wife.
That's right. Yeah. It's like, I don't know why it took us till this moment in history to have a conversation that the female body and the male body should be doing lifestyle different. Like it's been a well-known fact for many years that we have different makeup hormonally, but we've never dove in to understand what that means in conjunction with lifestyle.
Better late than never, I do have to say, because when I was 14 and 15 years old, 2 back-to-back years, same knee, I tore my ACL twice.
Wow.
In a period of 12 months.
Yeah.
I tore my ACL, MCL, meniscus. And each time I tore it, guess what? I was on my period.
Right, exactly. So this is why it's like with the fasting cycle, I literally had this big chart up in my office trying to figure out, okay, day 1 to day 10, what hormones are here? What nutrients do we need? And I just tried to hack it as best I could. But then I could, fitness, it was fast like a girl. It wasn't fitness like a girl. So I wanted to make sure that I kept it just in the lane of food and fasting. But somebody out there needs to take it and do the fitness version.
Do you think society sees that as a controversial topic?
Well, it's kind of inconvenient if you think about it. Like for the coaches, it's inconvenient. For even the women, it's inconvenient, although once we understand when to eat and what to eat and how to work out to our cycle, it actually becomes quite effortless. So I think the reason, if anything, that society would push against all of the lifestyle cycling for women is that it's hard to understand. And we like absolutes in this culture. Like, tell me to do that or not that. We don't want to have to think more critically for ourselves. So if it's controversial, it's because there's a learning curve.
Yeah. People don't want to do the work.
They don't want to do the work. Yeah. But once you learn how to do all of this to your cycle, it's literally effortless. Like even me at postmenopausal years, I have an intuitive sense because I've done this for so long, I should fast today. No, I should eat. Yesterday, I fasted all day. This morning, I woke up and I was like, I need to eat breakfast. I just flow with it because I know that my body's going through different rhythms.
The power of habit is so real. And I think sometimes things can feel daunting at the start, but once you get the hang of them, they get so much easier.
It's so much easier. And learning anything is hard. I just started surfing this year at 56 years old. I just have been surfing for 6 months. And the first couple times I went out, it is a hard sport. You got to catch the wave. You got to understand the culture. Then you got to get up. But I kept at it. And it was such a great example of if you keep at something, there's a click. There's a moment that all of a sudden you're like intuitively know how to do it. And now I'm hitting that moment. So the same thing with learning how to fast and eat and what to eat and when to exercise and how to listen to your body's clues is really a fun adventure if you get excited and curious about it. And eventually it'll become so effortless. I've seen it happen to so many women.
You're a best-selling author and leading voice in women's health, and you've spent years studying why so much advice fails women. What's the biggest thing people still get wrong about women's bodies?
Okay, so I'm going to tell you two things. One is that we're rhythmic. So we should not be doing the same lifestyle tools over and over and over again. We need to know how to ebb and flow with our favorite lifestyle tools. Second thing, and this one is one I thought, God, I got to write a whole book on this, is that what happens to a woman is her body reacts to every environment she puts herself in. So if she puts herself in a stressful environment over and over and over again, her hormones are going to go into a stressed state. If she puts herself in a loving and nurturing environment over and over again, her hormones are going to respond by giving her a real increase in beautiful hormones. So we have to, it's almost like we're like these little sentient beings that like go into a room and we're like adapting to everything going on in the room. We are very, very tuned in. So the ignoring our subtle clues is what's harming our health.
Okay, well, we talked about so much. I feel like you could literally talk our ears off. But we're almost at 12 p.m. We've got, 2 minutes left. So what do you have coming up that you're excited about?
Yeah, okay, so I'll tell you something. I'm at a really interesting point in my career because I closed my practice when Fast Like a Girl came out. And then I wrote 3 books in 3 years. Wow. Which I do not recommend anybody do.
Most people, it takes like 2 years to write one book.
Yeah. So I wrote the trilogy, Fast Like a Girl, Eat Like a Girl, Age Like a Girl. So I'm not in a book contract right now. And so I'm looking to repace my life. And I'm doubling down on YouTube. So I'm doing we're getting a lot of people just wanting to know more about questions like you're asking right now, wanting more to know about food and exercise and fasting and how it relates to a female body. So I've gone from doing 4 new videos a week to 7. So I go live every week over there. So I'm doubling down on that. And then as I was telling you earlier, I'm really excited about Substack. And this is, off the topic of fitness and health, but as somebody who's been a content creator for over a decade, most people don't realize you have to create content that the algorithm rewards you for. And in the YouTube world, anything related to weight loss, the algorithm or fasting or autophagy, the algorithm loves that. But if I do a mindset video, it's like, we don't know what you're talking about. It won't show it to anybody. So I've moved over to do some really cool topics over on Substack. I'm doing writings, I'm doing videos, and just talking about new ideas over there, trying to help people. I really want to help people critically think through health. I feel a little sad right now. The way in which we take health information in is so bite-sized, and we don't know how to integrate that into a holistic health view. And so I've been really encouraging my following to listen to longer podcasts, to listen to longer YouTube videos, to read books, and try to get out of this desire to just see a 90-second reel and go, oh, I got to do that. Like 90-second reels should be entertainment, not prescriptions for your health. So on Substack, I'm having conversations like that.
That's great.
Yeah.
Also, you'll get a good pulse on what people want to know
That's
more
right.
about.
Yeah. Right. Because on YouTube, I can tell you what the algorithm wants me to talk about, but I want to know what people want me to talk about. So, and this is why I'm so excited about Substack, because I'm like, we get to interact with our following in such a different way. And I think if you're not like a podcaster or an influencer of some kind, you don't understand what we have to go through to make it entertaining, to make the algorithm like it. It's not as pure as like what we're doing now or what I did in my office, where I was able to give a much deeper advice. That's what I want to do on Substack.
I love it. And I also feel like your work is such a reflection of who you are and what you're interested in, you know, and the beautiful thing about being a woman is, you know, the chances if you're interested in something and something's working for you, it's probably going to work for other people.
Very good point.
And you've done such a good job communicating those things. So I think Substack's going to be awesome for you. I can't wait to check it out. Yeah, I can't wait to read all of your books, guys. If you haven't checked out one of Mindy's books yet, pick a copy up. I'm sure there's one of them that we talked about today that you were just like dying to get your hands on after this conversation. Mindy, thank you so much for walking with me.
Oh, thank you. Next time I'm going to wear a proper outfit.
No, next time we're going on a hike.
Okay, great.
And I want to wear a weighted vest. You'll be the first person I've ever weighted vest hiked with.
Let's do it. Yeah. And we could do it. You could end up doing it like post-pregnancy and see if it does, because you are going to gain some weight. That's part of the natural process.
Let me tell you guys, I have.
Yeah. It's like the body holds on to fat a little bit more, and there's a reason for that.
And it's okay.
Yeah, that's totally fine. So when next year, if you guys come back to LA, let's do we'll go up into the mountains and do Rucking together.
I would love that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.